Lancias is frankly not likely to set your pants on fire, but 30 odd years ago, they were giant killers. And that reputation was forged in large part thanks to this, the Lancia Delta Integrale. In the late 80s, the rally spec Delta was king of gravel, road and mud. It took 46 victories and 6 consecutive Constructors Championships. And that's a record which remains unbroken still today. Now this car of the people was first launched in 1979, a full 7 years before it was even first homologated. Initially available with a 1.3 litre and 1.5 litre naturally aspirated engine, front-wheel drive and 4 and 5-speed gearboxes, it was cheap, it was reliable and it sold really well. But as we know, that was just the beginning. Its older brother, the 037, was turning the Group B rally scene on its head. With Walter Roll and Marco Allen as principal drivers, the 037 took the 1983 World Rally Championship title ahead even of Audi's mighty Quattro. In 1984, however, despite a hefty power upgrade, that all-wheel drive competition proved simply too much for the rear-wheel drive Lancia. It was replaced for the 1985 and 86 seasons by the Delta S4, a mid-engine, all-wheel drive evolution of the 037. When the Group B regulations were scrapped at the end of 1986 due to a string of fatal accidents, Lancia needed a production-based alternative to continue to challenge in 1987. Many manufacturers found themselves without a suitable platform to homologate, but Lancia had the plucky little Delta. All-wheel drive and turbocharging were lifted from the Group B era Delta S4 and shoehorned into the new Delta HF to create what would become in 1987 a WRC championship winning rally car. Now this set the Delta on a path to 6 continuous seasons of domination, and the car would go on to be referred to very often as the most successful rally car of all time. In October 1991, the Evoluzione arrived with even wider front track, new front suspension and a completely revised rear setup. This demanded wider arches again, and in turn that meant that they could finally fit bigger wheels, and the blessing of that was the chance after all this time to fit bigger brakes. Other body changes made to the Evo included that iconic adjustable rear spoiler above the tailgate. Also, lateral grills in the front hood and more cooling in the front bumper for that high-revving engine, which now put out 207 brake horsepower. The Evo 2 model followed in 1993 with 215 brake horsepower. With this specific model, the Delta Integrale Evoluzione Final Edition arriving in 1995. Interestingly, the final edition models, all 250 of them, were made exclusively for the Japanese market, where the car enjoyed a real cult following. All 250 were snapped up instantly, and with the exception of the 30 or 40 which are commonly agreed to have been written off, the majority of them remain in Japan, except this one. The steering response is so nice and precise. As you find your way heading into one apex, you're already looking through to the next corner, picking out the following one. There's a of turbo lag and not quite as much power as you might expect for a car that carries so much gravitas. But once you realize just how much corner speed you can carry, and you learn to keep the revs up and keep the turbo primed exactly where it wants to be, you soon start smiling ever so widely. Indeed. Fantastic. I found at low speed, just maneuvering around the town earlier on, that the brakes were hypersensitive, but now I'm attacking these tight, twisty woodland lanes. It's absolutely perfect. I can really trust them to shed the speed when I need to. But what I'd really love is just a little more noise, because that whirring turbo, the pop-off valve when you close the throttle, is really exciting and I'm quite enjoying. Here's the best thing about this car: hard on the brakes, turning in with a lot of trail braking, and there's just absolutely no objection from the rear of the car. Just a very enthusiastic sense of rotation coupled with minimum body roll. It's stiff, but it's not too stiff to be aggressive over the bumps. It's not rattling the teeth from my jaw. There's just enough damping to make it comfortable and compliant as the road surface changes. But it's not so soft that we can't chuck it into the corner at high speed and know exactly what we're going to get. It's a car that really thanks you for carrying speed through the corners, but every now and again you reach a really tight hairpin turn and does not like having to shed its speed on the apex. It takes an awful long time for that turbo to spool back up. Now, this car was really a watershed moment in the development of performance-focused motoring. It may not have had the gusto of those Group B rally cars that preceded it, but this was all about carrying corner speed, a light and agile chassis, where the engineers had put a lot of time and thought into keeping its torsional rigidity nice and stiff and making the most of that lovely short wheelbase to get the rotation through the apex over and done with as quickly as possible. The steering is hyper responsive, and I love the chirpiness of that 2-litre twin cam with the turbo whooshing with every gear change. But I wish it had a little more power. Not to mention the Integrale's looks, that low aggressive stance, wide in some places, narrow in others. And aggressive as it is, it retains a cheeky hatchback edge. This really is a very characterful car. This car remains as pure as any of the Evolutions that preceded it. So what an appropriate way to close out that astonishing story that is the Lancia Delta.